So hit it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of This Is the Place Sports, the podcast. It's been a little bit since we've been with the folks. I'm sure they've just been clamoring for another episode. I know my phone's been blowing up daily. Like, when's the new episode? When's the new episode? It's annoying, right?
And here it is.
Here it is. We're here. Yeah, I think, we all took turns getting sick, so, that was that. But we're happy to be here. I didn't tell you this, by the way. This is a really special episode. You might have noticed I was setting up a couple extra things on the computer here. We're actually airing a live show right now on Facebook, on our Facebook page. So if anybody happens to be watching our Facebook right now for whatever reason, in case you don't feel like watching the Jazz game or the NFL playoffs,
This is the place.
This is the place. You can hang out with us. You can drop a comment, question with us. I guess we'll try to make time to answer it. But I just thought it'd be a fun little thing to try.
We are busy though, but we'll see.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have a heart out, to do other things. Just so you guys know. Okay.
And we have a special guest, our silent partner, Homer Simpson.
Wearing a John Stockton Dream Team '96. Oh,
Karl Malone.
it's a Karl Malone? I thought it was John Stockton. Okay, anyway. Karl Malone. There's not... Yeah, so I was going to say the fibers in his head don't work super well, so he kind of is droopy, but I think we got it here. Yeah, I think we're good. A little bit like you. Yeah, but anyway, enough tomfoolery. Let's get right into it, okay?
All right.
So, first topic that I think we need to talk about, obviously, when we last spoke with the folks, we were getting ready for bowl season, right?
Right.
In your view, so I guess we'll start with this, right? You're the Utah guy. You know all about the Utah football program. What were your thoughts on the Utes' performance in the Rose Bowl?
I thought it was very good. I think, it obviously came down to the fact that they didn't have much of a defense at the end of the game, but Ohio State has some extremely talented players on offense. Made an intriguing matchup there, but it was a fun game going back and forth, and I think the Utes accounted for themselves quite well. What do you think?
I really did. I'll be honest. I was more upset about the outcome of that game than I have been about any college football game in a really long time. Especially, because it was just an incredibly fun game to watch. What was that? There was that stretch it was like the third or the second quarter. I think it was probably the third quarter. Can't remember. Anyway, where there was like 5 touchdowns within a 3-minute stretch or something crazy like that, including that, awesome, kick return by Britton Covey. I thought the Utes played as well as they possibly could have, though. I think going into that, you and I both talked about it, how, Ohio State was probably going to take advantage of some matchups, especially throwing the ball. And it played out exactly as we thought it would in that regard, right?
Right. And then the fact was, it was still a tight game.
Yeah. It was kind of funny to me. Oh, see, Mickey, we're doing a lot of things at once. We're doing the podcast and babysitting the dogs right now, and the dogs are wrecking havoc in the studio. Anyway, I think it was funny how the story leading into that game was how depleted Ohio State was going to be. Especially because they had a lot of guys who were choosing to not play.
Right.
But Utah was equally as out shorthanded. They were missing so many guys in the secondary, and that was clearly where the game was won by Ohio State, right?
Right, but you have to give Ohio State credit. Their backup receivers guys stepped up, and they got some talented guys there, and very athletic. It'll be interesting to see how they do next year, and then of course the preseason polls, the early preseason polls for next season have come out, and a lot of people think highly of Utah, and they think highly of Ohio State. So it remains to be seen if two of the, both teams make it to the playoff next year. I know that's kind of a stretch, but some people are saying that they're, two of the 4 or 5 best teams in the country.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see how Utah recovers. Obviously they're going to have guys they need to replace. They got to replace Devin Lloyd. They got to replace Britton Covey. I think having some stability at quarterback is going to be huge, right? That's something they haven't had in a while. And obviously Cam Rising, I think was the story of the season, other than the fact that they were playing for the guys they lost to, Aaron and Ty. I thought Cam was the guy who saved the season. So
he did. And another guy, Britton Covey, because you think about why did people keep kicking to him?
Yeah.
And if you're Utah, it's like kick to him.
Go ahead, try it. Yeah, see what happens.
So, but I agree with you. Cam Rising stepped up and took that job, and he proved that he can run and throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I think you and I commented a lot just how similarly he looked to Travis Wilson at times, especially wearing the same number and kind of having that lanky baby giraffe look. Yeah.
We've talked about this, that Travis Wilson might be the most underappreciated quarterback Utah's had in a long time, because he played hurt and he's a tough guy. And I remember seeing his hand every week. His hand looked like hamburger, and he was still playing. And that hard shot he took against Michigan where he went head over heels. And so he's tough, but Cam Rising seems to be kind of that same mold.
I really think so as well. Yeah. But other bowl games, I think BYU's loss to Alabama Birmingham was a little surprising, I think. I don't know what the takeaway is from that, to tell you the truth.
I think that they were disappointed. Obviously, they wanted to go to a New Year's Six bowl, and they end up in that game in the rain and just everything that was a bummer. Yeah, was a bummer. But fact is, you do need to step up and win those games.
Yeah, and and then we got to touch on Utah State. Obviously went to the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, which was surprisingly entertaining. Had a lot of pretty funny elements, I thought, and played well against Oregon State. Took home the belt, not the trophy. They gave him a belt. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. That was impressive, and boy, what a fairy tale ending for Utah State. I think everybody wrote them off and thought this is going to be a rebuilding year, and for them to win the conference and then win their bowl game, kudos to the Aggies, our friends up north.
Yeah, and they had a lot of distractions going into that game. I think there was a lot of controversy surrounding the program that week. So,
so it wasn't a perfect season, but it was a really good start for the new administration up there as far as coaching, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up, because the rest of the Mountain West is. They're not going to take too kindly to the Utah State Aggies winning the thing.
Yeah, and I think they're pretty well equipped to continue that success. They've got good facilities. Seems like Blake Anderson knows what he's doing. I believe quarterback Matt Bonner is coming back. No, not Matt Bonner. Matt Bonner was the guy who played for the Spurs for a while. Bonner. Sorry, Bonner. Forgot your first name.
Yeah, so we'll see how they do. It's going to be interesting because, like I said, there's some teams on the rise up there too. That and then Boise's not going to take it. In the second year under the new coach there, it'll be interesting to see if they bounce back.
Absolutely. So yeah, just a reminder: if you happen to be watching us right now on Facebook, doesn't look like anybody is, but hey, who cares, right? Whoever our first viewer is, you're more than happy to chip in and give us some love, drop a comment, ask a question. Let's move right ahead into the second quarter, though. All right, this is something I know you're not huge on Twitter. You should be, but I mean it is a funny place.
They said that 10 years ago.
Right. NFTs are going to be the big thing. I'll tell you about that later. But if you read on Twitter, especially amongst people who follow the Utah Jazz, there's a bit of a division within the fan base. I would say a lot of people are saying the team's in a little bit of trouble because it seems like they had a recent bad losing streak. Other fans are saying keep the faith, but the big argument is do they need to make a trade to get to the next level? I'm of the opinion maybe. What do you say?
Well, I think the NBA is always funny because you hear these crazy things on the radio, like people say the Jazz ought to trade for LeBron James.
Yes.
Contracts in the NBA are so complicated, and it's so hard to make a trade. I don't think people even appreciate that you can't just pick up the phone and call the Timberwolves and say, we want Cat.
Send Cat over.
Give you this. Yeah. So, that's not how it works. And salaries have to match up, long-term plans. If the guy's contract expire next year, or does it expire in 3 years? What's our salary cap going to look like down the road? I mean, it's very, very complicated. So
Andy Larson has a really funny remark he often makes when this subject comes up. It's like, other NBA teams don't exist for the benefit of the Jazz, right?
Right.
Like there's they're like just like you were saying, the money's got to line up properly. The Jazz do have a history as well of players not coming. Ronnie Cycli comes to mind. I don't know if that's a thing nowadays in the modern NBA, but here's the big thing that I'm seeing a lot of is people, including writers like Andy and other people who follow the team very closely, are saying it probably is necessary to make a trade. And the most likely guy to go seems like it would be Joe Ingles. And I think this creates an interesting Jazz paradox, I'm going to say. But what are your thoughts? Is he the most tradable guy on the team?
I know his contract's expiring, and that's what makes him intriguing to other teams so they can get the salary cap. But he makes, about $12 million?
12 or 13, yeah.
12, 13. So we're not talking about a max salary or even close to it, or even... it gives a little bit of relief to a team. Mm-hmm. I know it's crazy to say $12 million is a little bit of relief.
Yeah, I would love to have that kind of relief. Yeah.
But the fact is is it worth disrupting the chemistry when he's obviously the team leader in the clubhouse? Get rid of him so that you can shave $12 million off of a couple $100 million worth of salaries. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And then, they got to get something in return. And, the Jazz have had a lot of draft picks over the years. They don't know if they've really capitalized.
They don't have too many assets they don't have a lot of draft assets to swing right now.
And so, I don't know if they value that anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think just the way the world is now, it'll be tough, but I have to think Danny Ainge isn't just going to sit and do the status quo either.
I think that's the X factor for sure. Is Danny Ainge, that's his thing. That's like what he's made his reputation on, is just being kind of a ruthless dealer of sorts. He's not afraid to make big swings, make trades that are maybe not always popular with fan bases, but he brings in big hauls at times. And you have to think that's part of the reason why Ryan Smith brought him on board,
Yeah, and we'll see. But I think things are just so handcuffed these days with salaries and all the maximum money that's out there, and that it's hard to be flexible these days.
Flexibility is something I struggle with a lot as well. So
me too.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah, we're very stiff boys. What do you say, Homer? Me too. That wasn't a good Homer, but So we're at halftime now. I don't have a refreshment on me. Do you have?
I got a little something left.
I was ill prepared for refreshments. But anyway, let's move right along. Let's talk a little college hoops, especially here in the state. The Utes are underway. First year of the Craig Smith era. The Cougars seem to be doing well. They've had a couple big wins under Mark Pope. I know a lot of people are high on Weber State this year as well. It's going to be interesting to see what happens up at Utah State. They've got I forget his name. They also have a first-year head coach up there. He was the coach of the University of Maryland Baltimore County Retrievers. Remember that? They had that big win in the NCAA tournament. But college basketball, I think, is in a really weird place right now, wouldn't you say?
It is. There doesn't seem to be a lot of interest locally. And then, you look at the bracketology, and I noticed Weber State's kind of snuck in there as the 16 seed, kind of the favorite to win the Big Sky. BYU's comfortably in the middle. I think they're a 7, 8, 9 seed at the current moment. And then Utah, not in it. Utah struggling mightily. And then Utah State, they seem to be,
Oh, we do need to mention as well, there was a big win by Utah Valley this year. They knocked off BYU.
They did.
Earlier this year. So that was pretty huge for them as well. We need to mention
Mark Matson's done a good job there. And then, and then Southern Utah will probably give Weber State a battle in the Big Sky. Mm-hmm. Dixie State seems to be out of it, but we'll see if they can do better next year as Utah Tech.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I think the point I was making is like I've seen pictures of what the Huntsman Center looks like for Utah men's basketball game, and it's abysmal. It's something you noticed, I think, when you were going to games pretty frequently. How big of a problem is that? You know, the interest, the low interest, it seems, in college basketball.
I don't think the Utes have been marketed very well in recent years. I think, I think back to the first game they played after they went to the national championship the year before. Majerus and the boys came back, and I think they drew 10,000 fans to their first game back. The next, it was the next season, different team and all that. No Andre Miller and stuff, but the fact is that they didn't capture the imagination of the community, and you would have thought people would have showed up to that first game to applaud the program and say congratulations and all that. But I think the Jazz have hurt college basketball in the state. I think the fact that the schedules have been kind of weak, and I think the fact that Utah refused to play a lot of the in-state teams like Utah State, and that hurts. It's interesting when people come in from out of state. Those of us that grew up here, we looked forward to the Utah-Weber State games, the Utah State games. Thank goodness Utah-BYU still plays. But, the in-state games were always a lot of fun. And I even look at the Beehive Classic, and how, it was deemed a failure after 3 years. But, they didn't market it very well. They didn't try to get the students there.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a college atmosphere. And it was I still think they could have done something if they got like the downtown shopping district and maybe combine some sort of shopping specials. Or
they need to find a way to make it cool with like that younger audience, right?
Exactly.
I'm 29. I can't think of a single good reason why I would be interested in going to a Utah basketball game. It's just not cool. Like what is the appeal? If there, I guess they have like a band that plays the fight song of the school I went to. Like what else is there to? The lights are red sometimes. I don't know. Like what's the pitch, right?
There's a lot of good history up there in that, and and I've always had this idea that they're close to This Is the Place monument. Maybe they ought to brag up the Huntsman Center and say this is the place, and talk about how Magic and Bird played what might be the greatest NCAA championship game ever in that building.
Yeah.
Talk about all the exciting finishes Keith Van Horn and other people had over the years, and Danny Vrains, and I saw they were going to retire Tom Chambers' number.
Right.
That'll help, and but my gosh, they've got so many retired numbers up there. It's almost something. I'm going to see what my old number was at the Cronny and see if they could retire it too. But,
I think that'll be next year. Yeah.
But Wat Masaka, and they're honoring some legendary people. But that program's got a lot of history, and unfortunately, right now there's just not a lot of interest there, and especially when they're not winning. Yeah,
it's too bad. Yeah, and I don't know. It feels like the solution is a long ways away,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw, but they have to curtain off the upper deck of.
It makes it look completely different.
Yeah, it's. I remember this was probably like 15 years ago, but you got those tickets when I think Alabama was ranked number 1 for some reason, and we were all the way back on the very last row. But the place was slammed. That place was popping. It was quite the place to play, and they did win. Yeah, I do remember that. So.
There's a lot of history there, and maybe by bringing the Tom Chambers type people back, if kids these days know who Tom Chambers is.
The thing is, I don't think my generation does. That's the problem.
But there's some things they can do to spice it up. But I think they need to, I know we got to move to the fourth quarter, but anyone who's been to Laramie, University of Wyoming. I think they won the national championship the year after Arnie Farron and the Utes won it at Utah.
Which would be Wyoming, like 45, 46.
Yeah, they won it the next year. And the AA Arena Auditorium in Laramie is built like the Huntsman Center. It looks like the Huntsman Center. Mm-hmm. And they have this really cool display in the middle of their lobby about winning the national championship. Utah subsequently has that trophy sitting in a case where the sun beats on it, and it's like not a big deal. I don't think most people know that Utah won a national championship.
I wouldn't think so. No.
And in Utah, and you worked for the AAU, but Utah's the only team in the nation to win the AAU, NIT, and NCAA championship. Brag that up. This is the place. I mean, This program's got a history, and guys like Arnie Fair and Wat Masaka and Danny Brains, Andre Miller, Keith Van Horn. I mean, you can go on and on. There's history there, and they could build on that, I think. But you're right; it's not going to fix it overnight. And then they got to get better teams up here.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I don't know. We'll see. And maybe in the NIL era, they can find like some sort of cool deal they can offer to kids
and play the in-state games again. Utah State should be playing every year in basketball.
Yeah, we could talk about this at length. I know we have a lot of opinions on college basketball here. Let's move to the fourth quarter though. As we speak right now, the Steelers and Chiefs are going at it. I think the Steelers just scored a defensive touchdown on a fumble from Kansas City, but I would be shocked if Pittsburgh makes it out of that game. So, first impressions. I mean, who do you think is the favorite this year?
It's hard to go against Green Bay right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay will be there, obviously, so that's probably the two teams in the NFC to watch. The AFC, a lot of people wrote the Kansas City Chiefs off, but on paper they're still very good.
Mm-hmm.
And Buffalo looked impressive, but I don't know if that's because New England wasn't impressive.
I thought New England would play a lot better. I was a little surprised. I thought the weather would kind of neutralize whatever advantage Buffalo had, but didn't seem to matter. Mac Jones wasn't great. And I think Josh Allen is a guy who doesn't get enough love for sure. So,
and then, it'll be interesting to see. And there's obviously some Utah connections with the Bills, so people would like to see that. But we'll see. It almost feels like it's Aaron Rodgers' thing to lose this year.
I think so, and I think they would have a cakewalk into the Super Bowl. If it wasn't for the fact that they're going to have to play probably Tom Brady at home. And I would say that would be a huge advantage typically for, a team from Green Bay, Wisconsin to host a team from Tampa Bay, Florida in a championship game.
Right.
But, obviously you can't forget Tom Brady pretty much wrote the book on how to play in cold weather. So I think that's going to be an incredibly fun matchup. Obviously, both teams need to win to get there, but I think they will. I don't think that should be hard.
It'll be interesting to see if Aaron Rodgers, where his head is when that game comes around.
Yes. Maybe he'll have whatever the new variant is at that point, or maybe his toes will be webbed together. I don't know.
Or the grease in his hair will get extra greasy.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy. I wonder how much Packer fans are going to miss him after this year. I think it was a foregone conclusion going into this year he wasn't going to be there in the future.
They're in trouble without him because I'm not sure our Utah State guy
Jordan Love,
is good enough to step into those shoes. He's not Mahomes.
No, he is not.
And
no. I said it at the time when he was drafted. This is going to create a lot of problems, and there is not going to be any upside to this. So.
We'll see, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the NFL. But it feels like it's Green Bay's world.
Yeah, just to talk about an AFC team before we get to our parting shots. I like the Bengals a lot, and I know they didn't play particularly well against the Raiders, and a questionable call might have helped them get to the next round. I love Joe Burrow though. I think Joe Burrow is fantastic. I didn't realize this is like his first full year in the NFL. He was, injured at the end of last season. He passed for like 4,500 yards. He has 35 touchdowns this year.
Oh, that's a good team.
That's insane. And he's got Jamar Chase. He's got his dude. They're awesome. I think the Bengals, if they're not ready now, they'll be ready soon. I think.
Yeah, it'd be fun to watch that division because there's some changes brewing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get to our parting shots. I'm going to pass the ball to you. Go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna honor Utah legend Frank Layden, turned 90 years old this past week, and I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday on top of everything else. But he is a class act, and he has been since the first joke when the Jazz moved here. He liked to tell that story about the day of the first game the Jazz ever played in the Salt Palace, and he goes, "We're just waiting for game time to roll around. The phone rings, and I pick it up, And they go, "What time is the Jazz play tonight?" And he goes, "What time can you be here?" And that's kind of Frank Layden's sense of humor. And, guys like Jerry Sloan and players, maybe not Adrian Dantley, but a few others, think the world, said great things and liked playing for him. His son Scott's a great guy. And so I just want to wish Frank Layden a happy birthday. And let's get to that 110 years.
Yeah, it's really, I think we see Frank around every once in a while, like at a Sports Hall of Fame function or something. And I mean this in the best way. I think his body will give out before his mind does. He is still incredibly sharp, and he's a hoot to be around. He really is just like, he is to me like on the Mount Rushmore of like Utah sports figures. Maybe not for like success, I would say, but just in terms of like laying the foundation of like the culture and all that.
People forget he was the NBA Coach of the Year.
That's true, and you can visit his trophy at the Utah Sports Hall of Fame.
And Norma Carr would love it if he'd come visit.
She would, yes.
But Frank Layden, for as funny a guy he was, he's probably the guy that was most pivotal in turning that franchise around.
Oh, easily, yeah.
And that year that he was Coach of the Year, they went to the playoffs for the first time and everything. That was fun to watch. And then there was always the interesting things with him and Adrian Dantley fighting and stuff. But
and I think he really understood his role to kind of groom Jerry Sloan into eventually taking the reins as the head coach, right?
He did, and that and there was things along the way that kind of made you scratch your head. I remember when Frank Layden decided to let Ron Boone go. And Ron Boone was a legend here.
Yeah.
And he had that games played streak going on, and it ended because the Jazz, for some reason, hopelessly out of the playoffs, decided they had to move him off the roster. So, we don't understand that. But I do remember Frank always had his heart with the fans. And I remember years ago he said the way these NBA TV contracts are going, he says, you're not going to be able to watch the Jazz games on TV, and guess what? They're hard to find on TV.
He nailed it, yeah.
But he's a good guy and a real treasure, like you said. And I think I could listen to his stories, even if I've heard them 10 times. I'll listen to him 10 more times because he's a great one. So happy birthday, Frank!
Happy birthday! For my parting shot, you touched on it a little bit in the third quarter, but. I just want to give a shout out to University of Utah basketball program. They're going to honor Wat Misaka. I think it might be this week. I think at some point in the near future they're going to finally retire, or I think they're calling it honor his jersey, his legacy at the University of Utah. And I think it's one of those great Utah sports stories that I don't think people are immediately aware of. Just a little background. Wat, born in Ogden, I believe he had Japanese-American parents, played for the University of Utah like 1942 or something.
With Arnie Farron.
Was on that great team. And then, actually was enlisted into duty during World War II, served there for a couple of years, then came back, helped Utah win another national title. Before going on to a brief career in the NBA where he really made his mark as the first professional player of color to play in the NBA. Really he broke the race barrier, he was the first non-white to play in the NBA. So, he's got a great legacy. He's got an amazing story, and I think it's great that the University of Utah is going to honor him. I think there is like a little sense of like sadness. I think it would have been, he passed away a couple of years ago. I think it would have been great for him to see his jersey hanging at the Huntsman Center, but it's overdue. Whatever, let's get it done. I think it's great that the University of Utah is doing that for a real sports legend here. So.
Mark Harlan's done a great job in honoring traditions like that. I thought the way they handled Chris Hill's retirement was fantastic as well. And let's not forget to mention Tom Chambers too, that Tom Chambers and Danny Vrains led that team in '81. A lot of people thought they should have won the national championship. They had two guys drafted in the top 8 of the NBA draft that year, in Vrains and Chambers. And Chambers obviously went on to a stellar NBA career. And I've had a chance to interview him a few times over the years, and just a great guy, a great ambassador for the University of Utah. And so I think that was long overdue as well.
Definitely. Awesome. So let's wrap it up. Thanks to everybody who tuned in and watched, everybody who's going to watch in the future, anybody who listens in the future. You got this look on your face. What does this look? Yeah.
No, I'm just studying this hat I'm wearing, and
it's Baloo from Jungle Book, by the way.
I'm thinking of having it surgically attached, and
it's a good look. Yeah.
I'm just debating whether Homer should be a permanent part, and I say why not?
Yeah, Homer, you made it. Good job, Homer. You're part of the show. Good job. Awesome. So yeah, again, feel free to check out some more of our stuff on our website. Thisistheplacesports.com. I'm sporting one of the shirts that we have for sale on that link in our site. This is a Salt Lake Golden Eagles commemorative 5-time champs shirt. It's got it's this side right here. It's got the This Is the Place Sports logo, a little branding there. So yeah, feel free to check that out. Take care of yourselves.
Support the website. We're trying to keep it growing, and we'd sure love some advertising too. So
yeah. Feel free to reach out, and anyone, small business, big business, let us know. We'd be happy to promote your business here on the podcast and on our site as well.
And you know why? This is the place. That's why.
That's why. I didn't know what you were going for. I like it though. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. We'll see ya.
See you guys.